It's me, Vince Everett, back at it again with a new episode of the Boy Time Podcast. And as always, I'm joined by Babby.
Mm.
Hmm. We have a fun and exciting episode planned. I guess maybe we should get right out of the way that in a little bit there may be spoilers for Mickey 17, as we are going to
There
be
will
talking
be.
about it because you watched it.
Mhm.
So we will be doing a full-on discussion, not the little button I gave it when I first saw it. So be warned. We'll give you more of a warning when we get actually to that segment, which I don't know when we're going to do. Maybe we should do that first, actually, because I feel like that it would be weird to stick that after the Elvis stuff. Probably.
Yeah, I suppose.
Okay. Well then, disregard that warning that spoilers are going to be coming up because they might be coming up right now.
Right
So
now.
if you don't want to be spoiled on Mickey 17, maybe skip ahead 20 minutes or so. If you hear me talking about Jailhouse Rock, then you know that you've gone far enough. But we'll start off with Mickey 17. And I guess we'll just start with just a basic question. What did you think of the film, huh?
It was horrible.
Really?
And I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Oh, okay. It was horrible, but you enjoyed
This isn't Parasite. I am leaving.
it. Okay, well, yeah, because Parasite is the only other one of his movies that you've seen, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, every once in a while he does a goofy thing like this. I think
That's fine.
Snowpiercer is kind of an in-betweener between this and Parasite, where there is like real social commentary going on, but at the
Mhm.
same time they're eating like giant bricks of bug protein, and it's just like really weird and goofy, which I like. And I think that it's a tone that he does really well, exemplified in this film. Um,
Right.
and I'm looking at Letterbox right now, and we both rated it the same. We both rated it four
Wow.
stars.
We're so synced.
I
We agree
know.
on everything.
That's what's odd is I think we've like matched up. I know we have the same score for Blade Runner 2049.
Mhm.
I don't remember what you rated the original Blade Runner.
I think I'm a half star lower than you on the first one,
Okay. So we're not completely synced up,
but close.
but close. And I like that. Um, but yeah, I guess we can talk a little bit about what the movie is. I kind of gave a little brief plot synopsis. Was it a couple weeks ago or last
Last
week?
week.
Last week? Wow, it does not seem like it was just last week. Um, but yeah, well, I gave a little thing. Uh, I guess I don't really know if we need to do an in-depth plot synopsis, but just so as a little refresher, the movie follows the misadventures of Mickey, who is one person on a space colonization mission to a planet. It's named after, uh, is it Niflheim? Is that it?
No, that's the colonizers like name for it, I guess, I think.
Oh, well then what's the name of the planet?
I forgot.
I thought it was Niflheim.
Maybe it was, but I was under the impression that's what they wanted to call it.
Probably. I was trying to think about that because I'm like, what is Niflheim? I think that's the elf realm in Norse mythology, where there's like light and dark elves duking it out.
Interesting.
Um, I probably should have done some research. I forgot that you watched that last week, so we were going to talk about it. Or no, you watched it a couple days ago.
It's very fresh.
Well, that's good. Yeah, it's been over a week for me. It's getting a little fuzzy, but so I guess Mickey is on a colonization trip. They want to start a colony called Niflheim, or the planet is called Niflheim. We'll figure it out later. But basically, what that means is that he is a person that can be 3D printed and have all of his memories intact because they have them backed up in a brick. It's a literal brick. Um, that might be one thing where I'm like, might be a little too weird. Like, why did they need to make it an actual brick? Like, I get the pun, but it doesn't really make sense for like actual scientists to do puns like that. I don't know. Um, but I guess that kind of plays into the tone where it is like kind of, it's like kind of serious the whole way. I don't think it ever like completely gets into like super serious satire unless you think that it is like a brilliant piece of satire, in which case I'll say I agree.
I think it's a pretty good piece of satire.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd say great.
Okay. I think I am in the same boat. I don't think I would label it like super fantastic. It feels very heavy-handed with the Trump imagery. Uh and like
I don't know if I really got that.
you didn't? I feel
Like
like
the caricature, fine, but like I
yeah.
think actual like if you're comparing it to the person and the ideology is not really there.
No. I think it's
I
just
think it
Mark
was just a
Ruffalo's
symbol as
performance.
yeah. I think Mark Ruffalo was like, I'm gonna be Donald Trump for this
Yeah.
role, even though
Yeah.
that's not really what he's more like a Gavin Newsom to me,
Oh,
where he's
really?
like trying to be a showy kind of like everybody likes me kind of guy, but he's just like atrocious.
Oh, I don't know. I think he's Trump. I mean, like all of his
I think it's
followers are
a
wearing
mix of a
red
couple of
hats
things. Well, yeah, that's
and
obvious,
they're like
but
Nazis.
I don't think there's a singular thing he was. What I got was a blend of all major colonial and like fascistic powers.
Sure. Yeah, I think that would make sense given his you know, cuz
Because
he's
I got a lot of
Korean.
Korean in this still.
Yes, he's I don't know. This felt so Hollywood though. And maybe this is
It
with
did.
the context of like seeing a
It
bunch
was
of
like
his
an
other stuff.
anti-blockbuster.
It is an anti-blockbuster. And I compared it to Freddy Got Fingered
Mhm.
last week, I guess. Because that is a movie when it came out, like I think the studio execs saw Tom Green, who was on like some MTV shows, and then he was in the movie Road Trip, which was like a huge success. And then they're just like, we don't really get you, Tom Green, but we're just gonna give you some money to make a movie. And I think Tom Green didn't want to make a movie, and so he made Freddy Got Fingered, which is like a parody of like making a movie. It's like a parody of movies in general, but it's so over the top and gross and disgusting and loud that it got like written off when it came out as being like, oh, it's just a dumb comedy. But I think nowadays people look at that as like, oh, he was like trying to say something with like just how he made it, which is kind of interesting. I don't think it's full on that with Mickey 17, but it is like some big suits in Hollywood saw that Parasite won Best Picture and was like, we're going to give you a bunch of money. And so then he made this, which I
It's
respect him
great.
for. Yeah. I'm glad that, he didn't win Best Picture. And then Disney was like, we need to have you remake Bambi for us, Bong Joon Ho,
Hmm.
because that seems to be the path for most newcomer Best Picture winners. They get sucked into the Disney hole. I saw Barry Jenkins was doing what else? There was something else he was doing for Disney, and I'm like, stop it! You made Moonlight. Why are you doing this? I don't understand. It's a sad state of affairs, but not when it comes to Bong Joon Ho, because he's making weird stuff and he doesn't care, and I like that. But it did feel a little weird. I feel like, I don't know. The Trump, it feels very Trump to me. I think it's like the spray tan. Like the way that Mark Ruffalo was acting and moving, I don't think that was like a rogue action. I think that was very deliberate.
No, yeah.
And like, I think Bong Joon Ho wanted to evoke Trump. But there wasn't like, well, I don't know. It wasn't so on the nose that it was like space Trump wants to take all of the white people and non-Mexicans to a place where they can be all by themselves, separate but equal or whatever. It isn't like that, but I mean there's so many nods to him being like a quasi white supremacist and like they even have like a freaking Goebbels character for some. Well, that's getting a little twisted, but they do have like a. Is that like Rudy Giuliani? I guess the guy who
I
was the.
I think they use the caricature of Trump, but I don't think it's a one-to-one thing. I think it's
No.
like a here's a symbol that everybody will recognize so I can force my message down your throat, but there's actually deeper layers to it that I'm going to explain
Mm,
to you throughout the movie. But like here's a loud, obnoxious guy that everybody can recognize and immediately understand what's happening. But I'm going to show you something deeper than that because this isn't an SNL skit.
yeah,
That's kind
that's
of
right.
what I got from it because like you kind of have to provide that like striking imagery, and there was a lot
Yeah,
of striking imagery in this movie where like it's silly and then all of a sudden there's a shot and I'm like, wow, why am
yeah.
I emotional about this? This movie is so absurd. But I think just like the absurd time period we're in and like this kind of futuristic setting, it's almost strange because it pulls at the heartstrings because it doesn't feel so absurd right
Yeah,
now. So I think that's where it's like, oh, all these characters are like really exaggerations of like what their their journeys and what they're supposed to be doing are,
mm,
but like it doesn't feel forced, it feels correct,
yeah. No, I think so.
which is interesting because usually I don't like that kind of stuff,
Mm,
but usually that kind of like format is pushed into like superhero movies, so maybe when he's doing it in this kind of like somewhat
mm.
satirical blockbuster type movie, I think it works.
Yeah, I guess I could see a lot of like if you push this a couple of steps further, it would feel like a Marvel movie where it is like winking at the
Yeah,
camera a little bit too much. And there is a little bit of that with like Mickey doing like the noir narration over the entire
I like
movie,
that, I
which
like
I
that.
think is funny because he
It's really
does not
good.
have the voice for it.
No.
Well, actually, Robert Pattinson does have the voice for it because he did it in the Batman, but the Mickey voice is completely different to his Batman
Yeah.
voice.
On the way home, I'm like, Adrian Brody had to use AI to get a Hungarian accent, and Robert Pattinson had to make him sound like the most dorky guy ever for this movie without any assistance.
That's true. That is true. Robert Pattinson was also in the English dub of The Boy and the Heron, and he played like the
Oh,
weird crane guy, the
interesting.
crane that turns into a weird traveling salesman huckster. And I didn't know that it was him. And then the credits rolled. I'm like, that was Robert Pattinson doing that. So I think he's just really good at voice work.
He's just becoming one of my favorites. I think he's great.
He's really good. And all of the interviews I've seen with him, he just seems like a really chill dude.
I love that picture with him in Death Grips
I don't know if I've
from
seen
like
that picture.
2012.
Oh, oh, what was it? Oh, my favorite story of his is he was doing an interview, I think, for the first Twilight movie. And they were asking him because he was like a newcomer. And I was like, "Whoa, how did you get introduced to show business?" And he was like, "I was at a circus with my parents, and it was the first time I saw any sort of like entertainment. And then I saw, I think it was a trapeze artist, like didn't make the jump and landed on the ground and died. And it was like a big accident, and everyone had to leave, and it was like a huge deal." And so then he told that story. And then, like 10 years later, I think it was for either the Batman or the Lighthouse, they asked him, like, that's a crazy story. Like, are there any other details? He's like, I don't remember saying that. That didn't happen to me. I don't know. I don't know why I said that. That's so weird. So I don't know what's going on with him,
Perfect.
but I like that that moment exists. That he didn't he didn't remember telling a fake story to people. Um, so yeah, I like Robert Pattinson a lot, and he's great in this movie. I think everyone's great in this
He's
movie.
yeah.
I I do I do like Whenever I see Toni Collette in anything, I think she's just mom. I like that she gets to be like a what is it? Like a Lady Macbeth or something where like she's trying
Mhm.
to she's kind of the one pulling Mark Ruffalo's strings a little bit and doing it like explicitly with sex, which I think is funny. And sex is kind of a theme of this movie.
It is.
Uh Uh, yeah. I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff where it's like they have to conserve all their calories. So it becomes like a problem where it's like, well, each time you have sex with someone, it burns like 300 calories, and we can't have you doing that. So for like 6 years, all sex is banned on the ship, but I don't think anyone really follows that. I guess I don't really know what the point of that was because that doesn't really come up again, where it's like, Mickey and uh, what's her face? Nasha. Is that
Yeah, that
yeah?
sounds right.
They don't get caught having sex, or like when they're describing the sexual positions, that they don't get in trouble for that. There's really no consequences for the no sex rule. So I guess that's a big cinema sin, and that is
I
going to
don't
be
think it is.
that's the going to be the extent of my criticism
Okay.
for this movie. Plot hole.
My criticism is the end, but we'll get to that.
Oh, okay. Oh no, I swallowed and it went down the wrong pipe. This is
I
terrible
just
timing.
I dropped a hot take and I was sore
I was gonna do a spit take. Um,
with no camera. You wouldn't have been able to know what's happening.
yeah, you have a problem specifically with the ending, huh?
I do.
Okay, I don't I don't remember feeling any sort of way about the ending,
Okay.
so I don't know. I don't think you're gonna get a fight from me, but
That's good.
I don't know. Do we need to give any I guess we don't need to go, like, super heavy in the plot. It's still relatively new. We don't need to give
Yeah,
away too many
I guess.
details. Uh,
Yeah.
but, I mean, I am interested. What about the ending didn't you like?
Um, so I think the movie does a really good job at just like colonialism in general.
Yeah.
I think he's very good at political messaging to a certain extent. Um,
Okay.
and I think the whole movie displays it very well from like Donald Trump-esque figure, and his more like feminist forward wife who like needs to correct him every time he uses man, and then is like just cuts the tail off of a child and eats it
Yeah.
later in the movie.
Mhm.
That kind of stuff. I think it like explores the ideology of it very well. Of
Mm.
like, here's all of my followers. We're gonna go to a long distant land so we can finally live with only our people,
Yeah.
and get rid of all these inferior beings.
Mhm.
Um, and the longer the movie goes on, it's just like the weirder everything gets with like that kind of society. You'd see all the flaws in it.
Yeah.
Um, I think like the monologue portion Nasha gives near the, you know, like I don't know, 3/4 through the movie is just like straight audience insert, which is great.
Oh,
She just like goes off on them, which is cool. Um, I think it does a really great job with like the striking imagery as well of like because it's a goofy movie, and then all of a sudden they get to the planet and like
mhm.
they interact with the people or the beings that are already there,
Mhm.
and then when one infiltrates the ship, like a child, like 12 people unload an entire
Oh,
clip
that
into a
was
child,
awful.
like blatantly, and
Yeah.
I'm like, why? Ow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just like the even like sending like your like kids out and like or the younger people to go explore these caves and they have like no like they're trained but they're like shooting to kill and they can't hit anything so one of them dies by just like something collapsing on them.
Right.
um a main thing of colonialism is like it's never a fair fight, like you're fighting children and you still can't do anything. um it's yeah, there's a lot of parallels to like current events in it which I think are done very well because it's like let me blatantly put this for you, like these bug things that are clearly like pacifist and not
Mhm.
hitting you or doing anything to you at all, but like you're gonna dump like 12 megs into this child and
Mhm.
then try to eat another one. Like it's pretty blatant what they were trying to get at.
Oh, yeah.
um yeah, I think the only like issue I really had was like at the end of the movie, it seems like everybody just kind of ignores that like this is like a fascist colonialist project, and they kind
Yeah.
of just go along with like, oh, we have a black woman in charge now, everything's fine. And I'm like, that's not really how you wrap that up, but um, okay. Because yeah, the ideological like makeup of that ship is like straight like let's take a blend of America and Israel and then throw in a little bit of like Korean insanity in
Mm,
there,
yeah.
and make this kind of blending pot of like modern day colonialism. But they don't really follow up on it in the very end of the movie, although the rest of it is very well done, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is a big studio movie. This is a Warner Brothers
It is. I'm
movie.
surprised they let him get away with like as much as they did.
Right.
Honestly.
So I think that those issues are just like, well, we have to have kind of like a happy ending
Yeah,
so that, all of the millions of people who are going to see this movie aren't going to walk away too disappointed. And I think for what it was, it's fine. Like, I get why it's there. I'm not expecting
exactly.
something out of like an A24 or a Neon
Yeah,
movie.
and I'm like, he's not like reading Fanon and putting like decolonization like
No.
tactics here. Like he doesn't touch on that at all, but like the ideological like breakdown of colonialism was very well done. But it
Yes.
didn't give me like the ending of Parasite where I'm like, that is a fulfilling ending. And it
Hmm.
goes over the ugly and dirty and violent parts of what class warfare can be.
Yeah.
And how like when a poor person does it to a rich person, you have this visceral reaction. But like all the while when there's kind of like silent killers in the upper class where they just like abuse and literally kidnap people in their basement as like workers. Like
Oh yeah.
that's considered like not as it's not as gruesome on the screen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like Parasite, the name of it is even like
Hmm.
so evocative because it's like, I mean, on its surface, like you could just say, oh, well, the poor people are like, I guess, literally being a parasite by like kind of conning these rich people into getting
Hmm.
them all hired. But also, I think it's like parasite referring to like the upper class people that essentially like capitalize off of the people that work for them and are only able to live this life because they've exploited all of the poor people that work for them or whatever in the class structure. And so I think once you like kind of think about it, just even the name of it can be read so many different ways.
Hmm.
That's a very evocative movie.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't really get that movie still either. When
No.
they like see the end, they're kind of like, oh, why? But like, yeah, I think this is a more straightforward attempt from him and more like
Mhm.
in a strictly American audience, which
Yes.
I think is very well needed right now. Obviously,
Sure.
like he does this very absurdist space movie where there's a lot of like not winking, but like does this look familiar to you? Like this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the satirical angle of it, like I really do enjoy. It was like just a really fun movie, and I'm glad that he was like able to insert as much like um great kind of messaging to it. It's just like yeah, those scenes where it's like it's very funny, and then all of a sudden like just murdering a child. That was just like striking to me. I'm like, wow,
Yeah, it is. And especially because like they linger on it too.
they
Like
do.
you,
Yeah, like they turn a camera to it like on their
mhm.
recording that they're doing, and I'm like, man,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's very good, suffice to say. I will
Mhm.
say, I think in general, I think he's more of like a class conscious director. I don't think he's like making huge political swings, but he's
Yeah, he
someone that
doesn't do like
identifies with the lower class a lot.
yeah, he's not like a revolutionary, but he
Yeah.
has enough of a understanding of those kind of things where he's able to like portray them in very good ways,
Yeah.
which is, obviously Hollywood will love that because there's a certain line you can go to before you cross it, and he kind of does the same. He's walking that line well,
Yeah.
and I don't know if he's doing it intentionally. I don't think he can go past that line if he wanted to. I don't think he's like got that kind of development, but that's
No.
fine. Like this is still better than 99% of directors trying to make a certain like political message or something
Oh yeah.
because this is so easily digestible, but it's still striking.
Yes. I think in terms of like political stuff, you can draw pretty direct comparisons to Charlie Chaplin of all people,
Mhm.
because like once McCarthyism and like the second Red Scare kind of came around, he was like labeled a communist just because a lot of
Mhm.
his movies dealt with themes of class and like they followed lower class protagonists, messing with higher class people. And like that was kind of the juxtaposition that he was working on. So then he was labeled a communist. He really wasn't, but he was just someone that really, I mean, he grew up poor and like I think, is he Polish? I don't remember, but
Harmony
he's
doesn't sound Polish, but it could be.
well, that's true. I don't know. I know he's a Jewish man because he played
Mhm.
Hitler in The Great Dictator, and that was a funny joke. Um, but yeah, I think it's kind of interesting where maybe in like a couple years, Bong Joon Ho will be disgraced as a leftist film director. I don't think I would go necessarily that far. It definitely kind of like it leans that way, but it doesn't fully commit. I
I
think
think he
that's
is,
fine.
but I don't think his like movies are like straight up like I'm gonna use the word propaganda, but don't get scared about it.
I'm
Like it's
scared.
just like here's how I feel about these things
Yeah.
through my worldview, and I would characterize him as a leftist worldview, especially him coming from Korea. I think the kind of class divide there is almost well, they have a very small surface area compared to us, so
Yeah.
it's a lot more visible over there. Plus, like, I think they have a better understanding of their history and their relation to us because they were a military dictatorship for like 40 years.
Yeah.
And their like leaders are just as much of clowns as US presidents are. So I think he has a very good understanding of how to portray like that kind of leader.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah. I'd be interested to see like his other one that kind of is more political is The Host. Feels
Hmm.
like I mean it on its surface is a monster, big monster destroy and kill people movie, but like the whole background of that is like political uneasy and tension, specifically from like the American occupation force that like wants
Hmm.
to gas it, but in doing so will like poison the water supply for the entire city.
Yep.
And then like I think there's like a scene where like they're getting ready to do it and they're like just straight up like riot gas and shooting rubber bullets at people. Like it's very like I mean, that's kind of on the nose of being like, this is what modern day colonialism looks like.
Hmm.
But it's told in this movie about a big squid or something.
Yeah,
It's
and that's like
interesting.
for Korea, like there's been multiple events where that exact thing has taken place. So it's yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's very interesting how he always incorporates some little stuff like that. I appreciate it.
That's good. I like it because this movie is still really fun, but I come
Yeah.
out at least thinking and feeling and like connecting to a story a lot more than kind of the vapid, uh, soulless, I will say, a lot of blockbusters of
Mm,
this era,
yeah.
where it is mostly about like, here's an action movie where there's no really like message in it other than like, big man theory, guy with gun saving the day, or superhero movie where we're gonna put in an Israeli superhero for some reason and make the Hulk red, I guess. So
Is there an
that's
Israeli
that.
superhero in Captain
Yeah,
America?
there is. I
Oh.
think her name is literally Sabra.
Oh. I I did not know this was in the thing. Is it in Brave New World?
I think so.
Oh yeah, Sabra. I've never even heard of. She's the actress is from Tel Aviv too.
Hmm.
What? I don't know what this character is. Why is she third build?
Well, you kind of have to insert someone like that
There
because
it is.
they're losing their good grace in a lot of areas. So why don't we put one in a superhero movie and see what happens? I'm sure there's some underlining commentary in there about her character and blah 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 blah.
Maybe.
Um, Same thing with Gal Gadot just getting a star, a Hollywood star, and doing a whole
Well,
magazine spread interview and all that stuff. It's all distraction, blah blah blah.
I
So
mean,
I'm glad movies like Mickey 17 exist because it's a very refreshing like breath of air compared to a lot of like the more I don't want to say like straightforward, but just like blockbustery, space age or superhero movies.
right. Yeah, I'm looking at that character. It's kind of nuts. I mean, her name is Sabra, and she's just wearing like a skin tight outfit with a Star of David on the
Oh
chest.
my
It's like so
god.
overt. But she was introduced in like 81,
Interesting.
but like hasn't really, yeah, supporting character for the Hulk and the X-Men. So I don't know why she's in a Captain America movie. I guess because there's a Red Hulk.
I guess. Yeah, I don't know what's going on over there.
I have no idea. Um, yeah, I don't know. Her Wikipedia page doesn't have very much, unfortunately. That is shocking. I did not know. But what I will say about Gal Gadot getting a star, you have to pay for those. It's not
That
like,
makes sense. That makes sense.
yeah, when you get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, you don't have to get like approval. You just have
Oh,
to
you just
pay a certain
okay.
amount to get on. So
That's
like
funny. That
there's
fits
like
perfectly.
yeah, there's always like this big deal where it's like Harrison Ford finally got his star on the Walk of Fame. And it's like yeah, because he paid for it. That's all it is.
See how long it lasts.
Yeah, I don't know
I give it like a week.
for Gal Gadot.
Yeah.
Gal Gadot, she listen. I don't know anything about her personally. I know she made the weirdo Imagine thing when Wonder Woman 2 came out. She might be like the worst actor.
She's horrible.
I'm not gonna say ever, but at least in mainstream, who's getting roles pretty
Yeah.
consistently. She's the worst. She cannot act in anything I've ever seen her in. And I've seen
She
her
keeps
in,
getting stuff.
yeah, I don't really get it. I mean, I was Wonder Woman like that successful? Where like people are like, I need more Gal Gadot.
I know like 1980 or the 84 one or whatever was like I think that was like COVID and they kept like
Mhm.
just showing trailers for it for like a year and a half because it was never coming out.
Yeah, they kept
So
pushing
I just had to
it.
look at her every single time.
And then the movie came out and it was really weird and
Yeah.
bad. The whole subplot of that is that Chris Pine gets like resurrected, but like his spirit is like inhabiting just like a random person's body, and like they have sex, and it's like that dude didn't consent. The random person
Uh,
that Chris Pine is like inhabiting did not consent to that. So did Wonder Woman just assault someone? So
I
it
mean,
raises a lot of questions, I think. It's a thought-provoking film.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. Yeah. But I think like looping that back to like the overt like sexual tones of this movie too is
Mm,
another great example of like colonial ideology and like the fetishization of just like everything of like
yeah.
a pure race with the perfect seed or like invading every single part of the land you're inhabiting, whether that's like the nature is not enough, I need to make you into food, I need to like
Mm,
do all of these things. I think that was portrayed really well. It's like all the imagery is so flat in your face, but like it's actually done really well to a point where it's like this is like kind of profound in a way that's easy
yeah.
to grasp.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it also speaks to like the like sexual nature of colonialism in general,
Hmm.
where it's like how like all the Spanish inquisitors or whatever that came over to
Yeah.
like
Or even house slaves and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah, where it's like the white colonizers always seem to like end up like in like impregnating the
Mhm.
people that they're colonizing. Which is like, so you think they're animals, but also you want to fuck them.
Yep.
So,
I mean, it's the same thing with like the genocide going on right now. Like Israeli, like rape is a big part of a lot of that stuff.
oh,
Like it
sure.
is, you need to be invaded in every single possible way, and
Mhm.
that's just the ideology. Like they are raised thinking that that is like okay, and especially
Mhm.
when like you are forced into military service, that gets
Yeah.
drilled into you every single person.
Yeah, it's messed up. I don't appreciate it. But
It's a very fun movie with very dark
yeah.
undertones, but it doesn't feel too heavy,
No,
and
it
it's
doesn't.
that's the great part. I would watch it again as like a fun blockbuster.
Yeah. It's kind of like Nope in that way.
Yes.
Where I like there's a lot of stuff going on in Nope, but if you just want to watch it as like an alien invasion movie, I think you totally can do that.
Yeah, it's I need to watch that movie again.
It's great.
The freaking monkey. I don't think she's seen it yet, so we'll probably watch
Oh,
that
there
soon.
you go. I forgot what I think I named her Crystal. Didn't I say
Yeah.
Crystal or something in the video?
Yeah. I'm
Like
like,
I
why?
don't want to dox
Crystal.
her. So you and Crystal are gonna watch Nope.
Yeah.
I have not seen it since the theater.
Me
So
neither. That was still like COVID-ish times, right? I feel like my
I
theater was dead
think
for that.
22, if I were to guess. It was like maybe right after COVID
Mm-hmm.
because the trailer for it dropped when I was at your house. I don't
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if we were seeing Lucy or Kendrick or if we were was that the year that Kendrick was at the Super Bowl? I think that was it. There was a
Oh,
Nope
yeah, I think
trailer
that
at
was
the
it.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Yes. So yeah, 22. And then it came out that summer. What happened to Kiki Palmer? She's just in a SZA movie.
Yeah, I feel like that's the last thing she's done, and I don't really know
The
what else
heck?
she's been doing.
It's been 3 years, Kiki. Why'd you just make a movie with SZA? She should be working with Christopher Nolan on the Odyssey. Everyone else is.
Link up with Bong Joon-ho.
Oh, that would be crazy.
That would be crazy.
Oh, but speaking of actors and Bong Joon-ho, I want to give a special shout out to Song Kei-ho. This dude has been in like most Bong Joon-ho movies. He's the dad in Parasite.
Mm,
Um,
I love
I
that guy.
I love him. He's so G dang good.
Mm-hmm.
He's in Snowpiercer and Memories of Murder too. But in this movie, I was absolutely shocked. He has the perfect American accent. I have never
I didn't even know it was him because of that.
I was so impressed. And like as he was talking, I was like watching for little markers that I know like you can usually tell like what Korean accents tend to have like they switch certain letters and certain sounds and I was like paying attention and he was like nailing it. And I'm like this guy might be the best actor ever. I cannot believe how good his American accent is, which is even more surprising because in Snowpiercer he didn't speak English at all.
Mm-hmm.
He just kept speaking Korean. So when he showed up here and he was speaking English, I was very impressed. So shout out Song Kei-ho.
And Stephen Young's in this movie. We didn't talk about that at all, but I love him.
He's very good. Everything I've seen him in, I guess, except for Invincible, he's kind of been like a supporting character. I know he's a major
Yeah.
character in The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm. He's fantastic in that show, and I'm
Right?
glad he's getting roles outside of that show.
Yes.
Because he was always like, why is he the best actor on this show?
Oh, he's great. I I always think that scar that he has on Nope, that isn't real, right?
No.
For some reason, I always picture him with that scar, even though he doesn't have it. So sorry, Stephen Young.
That's good propping.
It
Good
is.
makeup.
It is good makeup. Um, is that I think that might be it. I don't have like a whole lot to say about Mickey 17. It's just kind of a fun. It's a fun
Yeah.
movie.
I
If
think
you
it's
want
just
to
like,
dig into it, you can.
yeah, just talking about like what the underlying themes are kind of the most of the discussion because the movie is pretty straightforward other than that, but like that's not a bad thing.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
a lot of the comedy lands too, which is great.
Yeah. No, I
There's
think it's
always a
pretty
point of
funny.
levity.
I don't know how I feel about the threesome. I felt
Yeah,
very
that was
uncomfortable.
interesting. I'm like, this is what Challengers was supposed to
And
be.
I couldn't really tell the tone, or like, is this supposed to be funny? Like,
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
I don't know. It's just, it was making me, it was very, that was the moment where I'm like, okay, this might be a little too far. Like, what are we doing? Where like this evil Mickey is now like super high and like slap happy.
Uh-huh.
What's going on? But it
I mean,
is
they're both
funny.
Mickey technically, so
Well,
it makes
that's
sense
true.
that he has a little goofy side.
That's true. And don't they say something about like Um, they because the reason that that guy might be like evil is because he doesn't have a soul, or it's like implied that, right?
Um, I'm not sure. Yeah, because it's a duplicate, so
Yeah,
maybe.
I thought they said something where it was like multiple bodies share one soul, and that's why they have to wait for one to die to print out
Mm,
another.
that would make sense because I feel like all those parts of his personality are still there, but like the since like he's such kind of a pushover as 17, I feel like 18
Yeah,
is just exaggerated with that part of his brain that he's not using.
that's true. Yeah, because they're like very different characters. He doesn't even
Hmm.
have the funny Mickey voice. He just talks like Robert
Exactly.
Pattinson.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that was such like a good combo though. It was like a buddy cop, but it's the same person. And I'm like, this is great.
It is great. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I could say like many bad things about the movie. It's just a whole lot of
Mm-mm.
fun. Great
It
ride.
is.
I do think it's funny. I, me and four other people that I follow on Letterboxd all gave it 4 stars.
I think that's like perfectly where it needs to be. It's not groundbreaking, but it's pretty great.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I think it is kind of in the same vein as Snowpiercer. It
Yeah.
reminds me a lot of that one, just
Yeah. I'll have to
tonally.
look at that one next because that's what I've heard too. Was that this one was kind of similar.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. The other ones I've seen are The Host, Memories of Murder, and then Snowpiercer.
Hmm.
I don't know if he's made anything else that's like super acclaimed. There probably is, but I don't know. I am a American man with a small worldview, but a big heart. I'll put that on my dating profile.
Yep.
American boy with a small worldview, but a good heart or a big heart.
Oh, I was just going into rate Parasite too, so I had a um like a scale here, and I'm also giving it 4.5, so we're also aligned on that one.
Yo, okay. Did I give Parasite 4.5?
You did.
Okay, that would make sense.
Yes. Yeah,
That's what I would give it right now.
must be accurate then.
I think so. Okay, well that's Mickey 17. Um, maybe one day, maybe we could do like one of his movies for a feature.
Yeah, I think that would be fun.
I think so. There's a lot of stuff that you can dig into. You specifically.
Absolutely, because I'm insufferable.
Yeah. And I have a small worldview. So I don't know anything.
That's what makes this work.
I guess so. But check out Mickey 17. I don't think we even really spoiled anything too bad. So,
No.
you know, give it a shot. But now we move on to Elvis stuff. We're moved on. Last week was Loving You. I was very sad. I was maybe contemplating giving this up because Loving You was early on and I know it gets worse, and I already gave that 1 star. And I was sitting there dreading the next film, even though it was the name I recognized. But I was delightfully surprised. I ended up giving Jailhouse Rock 4 stars, and let's talk about why I did that. That's half a star lower than Parasite, and it's a full star more than No Country for Old Men. So let's talk about why I like Jailhouse Rock so much and why I think this is Elvis's best movie of the 3 I've seen. First of all, let's get it out of the way. Elvis's name is Vince Everett. This is the most normal name that he's had so far. I don't remember what he was in uh, Love Me Tender, but in Loving You, he was Deke Rivers. Which I think that's a sick name. But Jailhouse Rock came out in 1957. Oh, wait, frick. I was going to look up how old Elvis and Priscilla were and do that as like a running bit.
That's our scale.
Yeah. Elvis in 1957 was 22. And Priscilla, even though they had not met yet, she was 12. Okay. Uh,
Great.
That's nice to think about. Again, they haven't met yet. Still be a couple years. Um, but Jailhouse Rock, despite what you may think, hearing the title, most of this movie does not take place in jail. Unfortunately, I was kind of looking forward to a Shawshank Redemption starring Elvis that came out in the 50s, but that isn't quite what we get. Elvis plays Vince Everett, who's a no good rebel with a big mouth and a bigger fist who likes to punch people. And I guess maybe we'll start, and I'm going to ask you a question because Elvis goes to jail in this film. What do you think his crime is?
Mm. My first thought was like adultery, but is that a
Mm.
crime?
No, it's not a crime.
Okay.
It is a crime in the eyes of the Lord, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say armed robbery.
That seems a little extreme for Elvis.
It does, but like that's why he's perfect for it.
I guess so. No.
All your money, mama.
It's Johnny Bravo.
I know that's Elvis in my head is just Johnny Bravo.
Well, you're not too far off. No, Vince Everett murders a guy. Just straight up.
Okay.
Yeah. The movie starts and he's just chilling at a bar, and then some lady starts hitting on him, and Elvis is like, "No, I'm not interested." But then that lady's husband comes over and is like, "You two-timing tramp," and Elvis is like, "Get your hands off her." Uh, and he's like, "Oh, well, mind your bees." And then they get into a little kerfuffle, and then he murders the guy with his bare hands and is sent to jail, which I think is pretty gnarly. Not quite what I would imagine Elvis doing. You know, I maybe pictured, I don't know, wrong place, wrong time. Maybe he was driving his pal around and then his pal robbed the store and now he's suddenly the getaway driver. Like something like that, where it's an accident so you can still kind of redeem him. But no, he just murders a guy in the first 30 seconds. And then we're supposed to feel bad when he gets 10 years in the slammer.
He
And
was just saving this random woman.
I mean, yeah, right? I mean, but I guess it's the 50s. He had a right to beat his wife, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose.
That's his property.
Which makes sense. Elvis was dating. How old was she?
12.
12.
They hadn't met yet.
Well, you know.
Close, but not quite. And they actually they tried to keep that a secret. But then, like, as soon as she turned 18, they got married. Don't ask me why. I'm not a PR person. But yeah, Elvis murders a guy, and he's sad because he's in jail. And what is really sad about being in jail is that you can't make any cash. See, that's another big part of Vince Everett's character, is that he loves cash, he loves money, most of all, he loves cheese. Cheese referring to cash, not actual cheese. He's a bag chaser. If he were alive today, he would be a part of the manosphere. The grind set. His profile picture on X would be the Joker.
Laser eyes.
With laser eyes would be so scary. But that just shows how dedicated he is to the craft. So he's sad. He can't have cash. He can't get a nice convertible. He can't have cool clothes. He can't even have a cool haircut. Because to get a cool haircut, you have to bribe the guard with cigarettes. And I do like that this is early enough in the like prison genre of movies that they have to explain that cigarettes are like currency in jail, because they assume that most people wouldn't know that. But I feel like most people grasp the concept of like internal economies at jail being represented by different things other than paper cash, such as cigarettes or tickets, Chuck E. Cheese
Women.
tokens. No, they don't they
Sorry.
wouldn't have women.
Well, they're not actual women.
Oh, like posters, like Playboys. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I was thinking more of a jail wife, but yeah.
A jail wife?
Do you not know this concept?
No, I don't think so.
Some men are turned into wives in jail.
Oh, well,
Take with that information what you will.
okay. I won't dig into that any deeper.
Yeah.
Elvis does not get into that in this film.
Okay.
I don't know if you legally could with the Hays Code being enacted.
Probably not.
Probably not. But he's just sad, and he learns the economy from his best friend, Hunk Houghton. The
Awesome.
the names in these movies are awesome. They're the best. And Hunk Houghton is his bunkie, and he's kind of, actually, interestingly enough, he kind of reminds me of Red from Shawshank Redemption, and that he's kind of a fixer. He has a bunch of connections with people both on the inside and the outside. If you need something, he can probably get it for you. And he kind of knows how to schmooze the guards and the wardens into getting maybe his friends into nice cushy jobs and his enemies jobs in the coal fields, because that's how old this movie is. Because, well, I guess prison slave labor is still a thing, but I don't know if it's to that extreme. Are we sending prisoners to coal mines? Are coal mines even a thing?
Not anymore. I don't
Yeah,
think.
I don't think coal is really a thing that is used much anymore.
Oh, they use it a lot, but I don't think we mine it here.
Oh, do we mine it in Zimbabwe?
We don't do it, but we get it.
I don't.
Yeah.
Could I?
I wouldn't advise, but
Mining coal? You don't think it's a good business opportunity?
no.
Why not? Bad for the environment or something?
Bad for the environment, bad for you,
Bad for me?
bad pretty much in every single way.
How could it be bad for me?
I mean, like, that's not the healthiest thing to intake.
Cash?
Well, yeah, I was talking more about fumes. But
Oh, well, I wouldn't do that. I'd just hire people.
yeah, that's true. I'm a business owner.
Yeah.
Maybe you can live with blood money, then yeah, you're good.
Yeah. I've always strived to live like Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great character, great representation of how I want to live, by backstabbing and being evil.
It's the American way, brother.
Yeah, and I do love being evil, as was discussed on the last podcast. um, we don't need to talk.
We did.
We don't need to talk about all of the regrettable things I said last week. But Elvis talks to Hunk Hooten, or whatever that guy's name is. And he's like, "Oh, Hunk, I don't know if I'm going to make it in this jail business, you jive cat." And Hunk Hooten says, "I used to be a country singer, don't you know? Why don't I teach you how to play the old guitar?" And so then he teaches Elvis to guitar. He learns how to sing. And then we get a little time flash represented by, I guess they have like a full year calendar where like you can see like all of the months on one sheet. And instead of marking off individual days, they're just marking off the entire month once the month passes. So I guess you can keep track of whether or not it's April. I'm assuming this podcast is going to be coming out in 2 weeks. I have no basis for this, but, you know.
You take a really long time.
Taking a long time to edit this one. I'm going to put a lot of care into it. That's what's so special about the Boy Time podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So we get... I just think it's weird. Why would they mark their calendars like that? Don't you already know what month it is? I guess maybe not in the old the slammer, as the kids say. But what's weird about that is that, like, I think he's in there for 18 months total for good behavior. I guess he calms down a little bit during his time in prison, and instead of 10 years, they just let him off with 18. It's not even 18 with probation. He's just completely free. So the U.S. justice system sure has changed a lot, I guess. I guess you could say. Because I don't think anybody who murdered someone would be able to get off in 18 months.
Well, he was white.
He was white, and it was technically manslaughter because he didn't mean to murder him.
Mm-hmm.
But still, he did murder someone with his bare hands, which is pretty sick.
Good lawyer.
I don't think so. I think he represented himself because he was a poor man.
Great lawyer.
He was all about the grind set. He just wasn't very good at it. But as soon as he gets out of jail, he's like, I'm gonna make a music man of myself. And I guess maybe before we get into that, his bunky Hunk Hooten, he's like, hey, Elvis, once we get out of here, because I've been in here for 30 years, but I'm getting ready to leave in 2. And once you get out next year, then we can join forces and be a great musical band, and we'll split everything down the middle, which continues the trend. For some reason, all of these filmmakers have like nods to Elvis's real life. So this continues the trend of like showing that Colonel Parker was taking half of everything that Elvis made. And like for some reason, film screen Elvis is like, that's a terrible thing. That's a bad rate. But then in real life, he just kind of let it happen. But I guess that's a different story. We don't need to talk about that. But it is weird that they keep including references to Elvis's real life and portraying them in one way when real life was very different. Maybe it was a way for the writer of the film to be like, hey, Elvis, maybe you should get out of the business deals with the fake colonel that just gambles away everything you make for him. But he did not listen. He was too infatuated with a 12-year-old. Even though they had not met yet, he was just dreaming about
But
it.
he was thinking it.
He was thinking it, probably. So he signs away half his stuff. But while he's outside, he's not going to wait for Hunk Hooten to get out, and he's going to start himself. And so what follows is essentially Loving You, but better, because Loving You is pretty much the same thing, where he's an artist, and he learns to develop his style, and he becomes very famous, and all of the young girls love him. But in this movie, it's kind of interesting because he starts his own record company with a lady whose name is Peggy Van Alden. But for the purposes of this show, we will call her Lady because that's all she is. She is Lady, and she starts a record label with Elvis. And Elvis, being the suave businessman, he cuts a deal with her where it's 60-40. So he gets a little bit of an edge up on old Lady. But it's very successful, and he becomes a huge star, and he gets invited to generic equivalent of Johnny Carson to do a song. I wonder what song it is.
Hurt.
No, it's the Jailhouse Rock song. It's the classic sequence that everybody knows, where there's like the spiral staircase, and there's a fire pole, and there's like two levels and some doors, cell doors, and they kind of dance. This is the sequence that is in the Library of Congress. I think it's the only piece of Elvis media that has been preserved in that way, where a bunch of intellectuals, some sort of academic folk, have designated this as being historically significant and worth being preserved. And I, for one, actually agree because it's really good. It's probably the best musical sequence I've seen in any of these movies. And honestly, I think the music in this movie is just straight up good. Like a lot of the music in this, like I was like, wow, this is like way better than everything else that's come before it. And I think it's because Elvis has like this really great infectious energy that he's like kind of let shine. Because in the first two that I've seen, he's just like doing like baritone love ballads And I'm just like, snooze, so boring. Elvis, why don't you do some dancing and do it with a bunch of boys that are wearing striped clothes? And it's very homoerotic, but they weren't thinking about that. So it's just kind of funny unintentionally, because everyone is super flamboyant. All of the background dancers are so over the top. I felt like I was watching a Lil Nas X music video. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because I thought it was great.
Great.
Yeah. Uh, so I don't know. It was kind of weird. Oh, and that sequence, it's also important to note that this sequence probably would not be as highly regarded as it is right now if Elvis didn't decide to ditch the original choreography that was given to him by whoever whatever the dance choreographer was. He decided to do his own thing. And for that sequence, it's really, really, really great. Like, he's doing all of his like classic moves. He's doing the hips. He's doing like the seizure thing that he used to do. He's like shaking really fast. It's like really, really fun. And like you can tell that he's having a blast, and like everyone else, it feels electric. Like, it's actually a really, really great performance in a way that, like, I don't know, like something like Singing in the Rain or like another like really, really great old musical will invoke. And I think it's really great. Thank you, Elvis. This is very nice. So I think that maybe this movie is kind of worth watching a little bit. I will say it is a little bit weird that Elvis and Lady get together, but I think that the relationship feels more fine than the one in Loving You, because in Loving You, they started off, and Lady and Elvis, aka Deke Rivers, they started off as a business relationship, and she was his manager, and then like she kept sexually harassing him until they eventually fell in love. And that doesn't feel kosher. There's like a power imbalance there, not a healthy relationship. And in 5 to 10 years, they would probably get a divorce when Elvis realizes that, was he ever really in love with her at all? Or was it just the power imbalance and someone that has more power than me giving me time and attention? Do they even really care about me at all? Or am I just a walking, shaking hips? But in this movie, it's very different because they actually start off kind of romantically interested in each other right off the bat, and then they get into business later. So, like, he just performs at a bar, and she likes his performance, even though it's kind of sucky. But she sees the potential there, and so then like they kind of flirt, and they spend a lot of time together, and it's like very clear that they both kind of have feelings for each other before they start the business. So it feels more like an actual relationship that makes sense and could lead to a long-lasting relationship, which is what I think about when I watch movies like these where characters fall in love, because I care about all of these characters and I want them to have long-lasting relationships that will last them the rest of their lives if they want to. Or if they want to be open and have sex with a bunch of people, that's fine too. It is less wholesome, and I don't think Jesus would like it as much, but I'm cool with it, I guess. Are you cool with it?
I don't care what Jesus thinks about media.
No. Are you care if Elvis was poly?
Oh, I think he'd be a progressive king, and then if he was poly.
Yeah. Progressive king. That's how I would describe Elvis.
Poly's still progressive. I don't know.
Huh?
I don't know if polyamory is considered progressive or not. I guess it maybe is.
Mormons are poly. I wouldn't necessarily label them as progressive.
Well, they're not like open like poly. They're like I can have multiple wives,
Mm.
which I don't think is poly. I think that's
Well, I mean, it's
misogynist.
polygamy. It's not
Yeah,
polyamory necessarily.
polyamory. I think they're two different things.
Mm. So then, yeah, I guess Elvis could be a progressive king if he
Hmm.
were poly, or if he was
But there's a
asexual.
12-year-old and a 13-year-old, and they can do whoever they want, mama.
Well, I guess if he was poly,
But
you'd be dating two 14-year-olds. So that would be unfortunate.
exactly.
That would be really sad and fucked up. But in the movie, he doesn't date any children. I don't think there's any children in the movie, which I think is fine. What do you think about children being in every movie? There's a theory that that a lot of people think that children should be in every movie. What do you think
I mean,
about
like,
that?
if you're shooting a movie in an area, like, there's probably gonna be child somewhere.
Not always.
Not always, though.
They really had to shoehorn the child into Monsters Inc. Would not make sense for children to be
CGI.
in that movie.
Yeah,
It's not a
it's
child.
not central to the plot at all.
Yeah. Are there any children in Blade Runner 2049? Yes, the flashback.
Yeah, there's a whole, you know,
Well,
whole sequence of that.
this kind of disproves my theory. I don't know if there is a movie with no children in it. I'm currently looking over at my wall of films, trying to see if any of those don't have children in it, and I don't think any of them do. Uh, I have Hawk Jones, which is
Hawk Tuah.
exclusively starring children. That's a great film. Well, I don't know. Do you remember Hawk Jones?
No.
That's the one where all the kids play adults, and it's like a buddy
Oh,
cop
yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a great area.
it's a great. I guess there's no actual children in it. Like they aren't playing children characters, playing adult characters,
Right.
but they are literally children.
Yeah.
They even drive cars in that movie.
Hmm.
It's a great
It
film.
is pretty sick. It's pretty great.
It's a great film. What would you rate that one on Letterboxd?
Probably a 3.
Really?
No.
Oh, I'm like, wow, that's really high. I wonder what did I rate Hawk Jones? Odds are I probably didn't rate it. Hawk Jones. I have not rated it.
It can't be rated.
The top review is A cab except Hawk Jones.
He is pretty cool.
He's a good. I was gonna say he's a good detective. I don't think he's necessarily a detective. I think
No.
he just shoots people.
Classic kind of cop.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Shoot first, ask questions later.
it's an 80s a buddy cop movie just with children. It's the best movie, I think. Yeah, I think that's it. I guess there's no children in Hundreds of Beavers.
Is there any children beavers?
There's children footprints. Oh wait, no, actually there are children beavers. Never mind.
This is the summer marathon, finding any movie that has no children in it.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any movie ever that has no kids in it. I'm really looking here. I don't think any of them. Night of the Living Dead. Oh, no, there's a child in that one.
There's a child in that.
What about Dolomite? Was there children in Dolomite?
Oh. I'm not sure.
I don't remember. We need to finish watching those, by the way.
Yeah.
We need to watch Petey Wheatstraw. that's his movie. I don't think he's playing the Dolomite character, but he's like a comedian that sells his soul to the devil. And he gets like god powers. And he uses
that
it
sounds
to make it snow inside and beat up winos because he doesn't like winos in that film.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But I don't know if there's any children. Actually, there is a child in Petey Wheatstraw because we see Petey Wheatstraw get born, and Petey Wheatstraw is born as an 11-year-old, and he gets up and starts doing
That's
comedy,
crazy.
I think. It's pretty awesome. What were we talking about? How did we get on this?
Oh.
We're talking about Jailhouse Rock. Oh, was it just that Elvis was a progressive king and he dated 2 children or something.
Probably.
That's probably it.
That's my only commentary around Elvis. So
That's probably fair. um, but yeah, no, I think Jailhouse Rock is actually a pretty good movie. I'm not gonna bring up anything else. I don't want to spoil it because it's actually fun and good. So check it out right now, please. So that's talking about Jailhouse Rock. The next movie I watched was a complete crapshoot, and I just figured this probably has something to do with prison. Turns out it doesn't at all. It's I mean, the only similarity is that there's like a crime element. Even then, that's kind of a stretch. I watched the 1934 version of The Man Who Knew Too Much, the Alfred Hitchcock classic. I didn't realize until right before we recorded, that there's 2 versions. There's the 1934 version, the one that I watched, but there's also a version that he made in 1956, and that one stars my best friend Jimmy Stewart. So I have to assume that that is probably the better version. Especially because the version I watched, the one that was made in the 30s, was like 70 minutes long, and it's kind of hard to do a crime thriller in 70 minutes. Not a whole lot of time to build suspense or do a mystery. So that's strike one, Alfred. Let's see if you're able to withstand the rest of review without getting struck out. I don't know if I have a whole lot of bad things to say about it. It's fine. I don't know if I have like anything to say about it. The basic plot is that there's this couple. I think I'm very unclear on what their relationship status is because they're married, but for the first like 20 minutes of the movie, the wife is like, she's like dancing and like being very touchy feely with another guy. And the husband is like, when she's doing it, she's like kind of doing it to like mess with him a little bit, where she's like, oh, look at this guy. He's so hot. And then like the husband like fake laughs like sarcastically as if to imply that like he's okay with it or it's cool. So I have no idea really what's going on. For a moment, I was like, well, they're probably just divorced because they're like co-raising the daughter or whatever. But I don't know if you could get a divorce in 1934. I don't know when that became being like a thing that was readily available. Especially because like it seems like the woman would have been the one to initiate it because she's the one that wants to be with super hot hunky guy that she's dancing with. So I don't know. I do kind of find it weird that the lady in this relationship she looks like she was like, for the longest time, I thought this movie was made in the 20s because she looks like a flapper. Like she has the hairstyle. She isn't wearing like the dress, but this is also a British movie. So there was like 2 layers of separation there where I'm like, she looks like someone who would be like in a speakeasy in the 1920s in America, but it's the early 30s in the UK. Like I know fashion and everything was very different over there during this time, but I guess not. I don't know. It's very odd. But they're chilling in the Swiss Alps. The lady is actually a professional sharpshooter. She competes in like skeet shooting, where they pull and then she shoots, and she's very good at it. And she's at the championship level at the Swiss Alps. So everyone is there and they're chilling, but her child is being too loud and obnoxious, so she misses the shot, and then she gets like all salty, and she's like, "Oh, I hate my daughter. I just want to go hang out with this hunk." So she hangs out with the hunk, and wouldn't you know it, the daughter gets kidnapped. Wah wah. You should have not been dancing with a hunk. And I guess the dad also could have been paying attention, but he was too busy being sarcastic about his wife possibly sleeping with another man. I don't really, again, I don't know what's going on in this movie. But they get kidnapped because the wife finds a message for an assassin that is going to be taking out some foreign politician. They never say where they're from. They just say, like, I think their name is like Rapa or something, Rama, something. But it isn't like like, I don't know. Rama almost makes it sound like Indian or something. Or Raja, I guess, would be like more Western Asian, whatever. But he's just like some white guy with a white mustache. So I don't really know where he's supposed to be from. He's just a foreign guy. And some group just wants to kill him for some reason. We don't know why. We don't know if this guy's like a terrible dictator that's doing terrible things to his people. And like this is a freedom independence group that is trying to liberate the people from under his tyrannical thumb. Or if he's like a super chill guy that like wants to help the people, and the assassination group are these evil, corrupt business people that would benefit from the subjugation of the people. We don't know. That isn't important. I would argue that it is in a movie like this, where this is the whole point of the movie, is this assassination plot and everything revolving around it. I feel like you probably should kind of go into why are they going to assassinate this guy? Why should I care that like people want to save him? We aren't really told any reason that we should care about this guy, so I don't care. They should just shoot him. He looks evil. He's a white guy. All white people should die.
Cosine.
Cosine. I'll second that motion. Give me a cyanide
Yes,
pill.
please.
I would take a cyanide pill so fast if it meant one
Put
less
me down
white
as a
person
yay.
on this earth. um, I don't know. Oh yeah. So yeah, the daughter gets kidnapped by this assassination group because the wife finds a note that says where and when this assassination is going to happen. And instead of doing the logical thing, where if you're going to murder someone, like a high profile person, let's say that you are an assassin and you're going to take out a world leader, and someone, just a random civilian, finds out your plan specifically, where and when it's going to happen. They don't know who, and they don't know how, but they know where and when. Pretty big details. And you're already going to murder someone, so why wouldn't you just murder the person that found out that info before they tell the cops, and make it infinitely more harder for you to assassinate this person? Yeah, because I feel like it would take a lot of preparation and planning to get a plan like this to be all ironed out and get all the specifications planned. So I feel like it'd be way easier to just murder the chick, but instead they kidnap the daughter, bringing another witness into this, and say, you better not tell anybody that we're going to assassinate the rich white guy, or else your daughter's gonna get it. So it's like this thing where the husband and the wife are basically trying to get their daughter back, while law enforcement are trying to catch the assassins and stop them. Spoiler alert for this almost 100-year-old film. They don't stop them. They actually murder the guy. Or no, well, no, wait, they don't, because the assassin gets startled. He does shoot the guy, but it's just a flesh wound, instead of getting shot in the head. And so because they failed, they go on like a Black Panthers esque, and I'm not talking about the superhero, but like a standoff where like they're all like they're like defending this building and they're like shooting out of the windows at the cops. It's a very intense standoff between the law enforcement and these assassins. Um, and it's, it's very, very titillating. I was on the very edge of my seat because I couldn't wait to find out if one group I don't care about was going to kill the other group I don't care about, or vice versa, because I don't really care that the police want to save this guy that I don't care about. And I don't really care if the assassins die because they kidnapped a girl. And I guess that's pretty bad. I guess. I guess in this instance, it would be a bad move. When Elvis does it, it's fine. That's I'll say that. Is it okay if I say that?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Hasn't stopped you before.
I know. I just want to make sure that you're comfortable with all of the things that I have said and will do and will say.
If I co-sign something that you say, I say co-sign.
Oh, you've
So,
just
I'm
done that
protected.
once.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Kind of begs to question why you're on this show if you've only agreed with one thing I've ever said. And the one thing that I said was that all white people should die, which would mean the death of myself. So I can see
And
why
me.
you yeah, I can see why you co-signed that one. Because you want me dead. Which I guess is fine. It's cool even. More people should call for my death in the comments. I would really appreciate that. What's going to be funny is that if we get a comment on this saying that I should die, I'm not going to remember in like a couple days. I'm going to be like, why would someone
Why
send
would
me
you say that?
That seems unprompted and unwarranted. Yeah, we've never gotten any death threats. That's kind of cool.
That is cool. We've been on the internet for 4 or 5 years doing this.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten a death threat, so that's good.
That's pretty cool. Thanks for not giving us death threats, everybody. I can take it because I'm strong and quick. So if someone tried to kill me with a knife, I think I'd just grab the blade in between my two hands. I'd like clap and catch the blade. Like Neo or something.
Guy.
Yeah. Like a sick, awesome guy. Like Chuck Norris. Like an American hero. That's kind of my vibe that I kind of strive for. Like Charles Bronson. I want to blast away some gang members.
Charles Manson.
Charles Bronson. That's how Charles Bronson talks. Actually, Charles Bronson has a very normal voice. He just sounds like an old guy. So, shout out Charles Bronson. He's dead. So, rest in peace. I guess shout out is not really what you say in that instance. You usually say, rest in peace to Charles Bronson. He really blasted away a lot of creeps. So, at least in the films. I don't know if he did in real life. Maybe he was a war vet and shot a Nazi. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
Yeah? Is that something you're comfortable saying?
Yes.
It's pretty sick and cool to shoot Nazis.
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I had the cosign.
Uh-huh.
on that instant.
Co-signed and encouraged.
Oh, nice. What were we talking about? The frickin' oh yeah, the man who knew too much. Yeah, I don't know. It's a very unfocused movie. I think it's one of Hitchcock's earlier ones, where maybe he cleaned it up a little bit in the Jimmy Stewart version. Came out like 20 years later. I assume it's probably better. It's also 2 hours long, which I think is the perfect length for something like this. and as my best friend Jimmy Stewart, so that's pretty cool. Even though he endorsed Ronald Reagan, who, in my opinion, is the worst US president, he is my friend. And if he were still alive, I'd give him a firm handshake, look him dead in the eyes, and say, "You are an American hero, James
And
Stewart."
go,
I don't think, I don't know. I don't think Jimmy Stewart sounds like that. Oh,
he's doing his Nixon impression.
oh, that's Nixon. I would never say that to Richard Nixon. I would say, "You have a pointy nose, sir." That's what I would say to Richard Nixon, if he were still alive.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if Futurama comes true, he will be the president again. He'll be a brain in a jar, which I guess we can all look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
I am personally excited for, in roughly 50 years, once they have the cure to leukemia or whatever, but only for rich people, they'll thaw out Walt Disney's body, and then they'll give him the cure for leukemia, probably 30 doses of adrenochrome. And then he will wake up and then he will run for president and win. I'm very excited for that. I don't hear a cosign, so I am going to assume that I'm alone on this one. Who's excited for the Walt Disney presidency in 2052? But you know, everyone else can look forward to it. Imagine it being illegal to not go see The Mandalorian and Grogu in theaters this winter. That'd be so sick.
Right.
What I really like about that idea that I just said, that will be fact in 30 years. My favorite thing about that is that we wouldn't have to warn anybody for spoilers because everyone would see the movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like about this upcoming administration. They're gonna make all movies required by law. You have to
Required
watch.
viewing.
You have to watch Lightyear. Not enough of you saw it when it came out, so we're gonna re-release it in theaters, and everyone has to watch it.
It'll be another remake at that point.
Yeah, that's true. Lightyear, the reboot, the one because the original nobody saw it, so we're just gonna run it back. This time we're gonna have AI Tim Allen play the role because he will be long dead in 30 years, probably. Hopefully, I hope Tim Allen rests easy in his old age and doesn't say that monkeys aren't real or whatever he says. I think that's what Tim Allen said. How are monkeys real if humans exist or something?
Yeah.
Which is a good question. Something I thought about a lot, especially during simian summer. Had a lot to ponder about evolution during simian summer when I was watching Babe 2. Not a whole lot else to think about, honestly.
Pig in the city.
Pig in the City, the weirdo surrealist sequel to Babe. But yeah, don't check out The Man Who Knew Too Much. It's fine. It's unrefined. Given 20 years, Alfred Hitchcock can make a better thriller. So I don't think that this one should be necessarily high on your list.
Yeah, the same movie.
Yeah, watch the better one. I mean, I don't know if it's better, but I have to assume it is. So maybe I'll, no. I was about to say maybe I'll watch it for next week. I don't want to watch the same movie again. But next week, what is the next Elvis film we're going to watch? I'm very excited. My favorite Elvis movie, I think it actually might be the highest rated, is the next one. Let me see where we are. Yes, it is. Next up is 1958 King Creole. Elvis plays a guy named Danny Fisher. I don't think we're ever going to top Deke Rivers, unfortunately.
Does he speak in patois?
I hope so. That would be nice. Walter Matthau is in this movie. He's the Odd Couple guy, and Dennis the Menace. Wow, this is gonna be good. From what I hear, it's actually good. So, and Austin Butler said this was his favorite Elvis movie, which is the correct answer, probably. So, tune in next week when we talk about King Creole paired with another movie. This one, this week, I kind of failed that. I just saw a film noir, a crime thriller by Hitchcock, and I was like, yeah, there's probably some prison element to it, and there wasn't. So sorry, that's my bad. I'll try to pair King Creole up nice, maybe with another Cajun film. I can't think of another Cajun film or any movie really set in New Orleans at all. Is there a movie about Katrina?
I don't know.
That's only.
There had to be at some point. The only thing Americans know how to do is make movies about things. So
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if there is Hurricane Katrina movie. Trouble on the Water. This looks like a documentary. Yes, it is a documentary. Yeah, I don't think there's a movie. Wait, there's a Nicolas Cage movie named Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans. 1 second. It is okay. This is a Hurricane Katrina movie, and it's directed by Werner Herzog. What the hell?
there you go.
That's a German guy. I don't know.
Always a good sign.
It seems like a weird mix of people. Nicolas Cage, Werner Herzog doing a Hurricane Katrina movie. So maybe I'll watch that. That seems weird. Oh, it's on Peacock. Oh, wait. It's on Amazon Prime too. Okay. All right. Maybe I'll watch Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans. This is going to be my first Werner Herzog film, which is maybe a bad place to start, but whatever. It takes place in New Orleans. That's all that matters. So that's all I have to say. I'm going to pass it on over to Babby for his segment of the show.
I hope that's music.
Yeah, it's music.
That's awesome. I got a couple of things this week. Just a tiny couple of things. We have a new Prem Rock album tomorrow, so I'll talk about that next week on the podcast. Very excited. Should be pretty good. Bon Iver had 2 singles come out this week. Not listening to them.
Nope.
The album comes out in freaking like 3 weeks or something. So,
yeah.
So not listening to those. He did use an AI picture of a bed in one of them, so I don't like that. Don't do that. Yeah.
He did?
Yeah.
On Spotify?
So no, it was part of like a music video visualizer thingy. It's like don't do that. So
seems like a weird choice.
It does seem like a weird choice. I feel like that would not be him, but what do I know? I'm stupid.
I don't know anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's coming. Still excited. We have Lucy next week as well.
Yeah.
So very excited for that. I think she's done on singles. I think she released one. When was that?
That was
last
a couple
week.
Weeks ago. Oh,
yeah.
Week.
Didn't listen to that either. Just saving myself for the album.
Yeah.
But that'll be on the channel for sure. Same with Bon Iver.
Yes.
Very excited to hear some Lucy albums. She's been doing some press circuit stuff, so I have a little bit of a clue into the album's themes and things, and I'm very interested and excited.
Yeah,
so,
I saw she was doing another Spotify sessions because she was asking people on Twitter what the cover should be.
Ooh.
I didn't look and see what people
I hope
were
she does a
suggesting.
cover of Sufjan's cover of Hotline Bling.
That would be weird.
That's what I want.
I got a little excited, like, oh, what song should Lucy cover by Sufjan?
Like an Elliott Smith song.
Well, last time it was a Cher song, so I don't know.
True. I don't know.
Could be anything. But I'm
Interesting.
excited because I always
Um,
like those.
yeah, Spotify sessions are usually pretty sick.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's coming. Let's get to stuff this week. I think that's all of the news and drama. Well, it's not
Drama.
all the drama, but I don't care about that stuff. Um, let's start. We're gonna do like a good, bad, good thing because that's how
Mm.
you critique things.
Yeah.
Except we're talking about completely different bodies of work, so it doesn't really work, but it'll flow nicely.
Okay.
Um, this album came out, I think, 2 days ago.
Okay.
That's but I honestly don't remember at
Oh.
all. But Saba and No ID have a collab album that just came out.
Oh yeah. I was
It
hearing
was a
good things about
surprise
that one.
to me. It's very good. Which it's a combo where it's like, how would this not be good? And it lives up to it. It's really great. Um, I listened to the first Saba record I listened to was Few Good Things in 2022. Um, I still haven't listened to Care for Me. That might be a wheel one eventually because Care for Me is very beloved.
Hmm.
Um, so that might be one to put on there eventually. Um, but I was excited because No ID is phenomenal. Obviously, one of the best producers ever. And I always gravitate towards the Chicago hip hop sound. There's something so warm and homey about a lot of it that I really enjoy. Um, and now that the Chicago for me hasn't really been popping in a long time. Chance the Rapper has fallen off the face of the earth after a humiliatingly bad album, and the other guy's a Nazi. So who didn't even make music that sounded like Chicago anymore, anyways. So
Yeah. What about Common?
I don't. I do enjoy Common. I feel like he's not as he's very theatrical to me, which is not a bad thing, but he's not something I put on like every day.
No.
He's kind of in that he's got an older school flow where it's kind of like uh my name is Common and I'm here to say like incredibly good verse, but it's like,
I don't know if I'd go that far.
with some of Common's work, it definitely gets to that point.
Yeah.
Not like B he's locked in. But some of
Okay.
his other stuff kind of gets there. I think Common is still phenomenal, but he doesn't quite fit my vibe all
Hmm.
of the time. Saba here fits it because this album has a fantastic blend of jazz and boom bap and neo soul. All of it works very well. I think it flows very well as well. You have like this very beautiful kind of neo soul type production from No ID, and then you'll go into something like traditional boom bap, and it flows just very very well. Um, the writing is very sharp. I think Saba has a pretty good pen in the way that like he is witty enough to get the job done, but the flow and the cadence and everything is just so chill and nice. And his subject matter is always great. He has that classic Chicago feel where it's like I don't know. It's a very kind of positive, heartwarming, not like heartwarming in the sense of what the lyrical content is, but just like it's a more warm tone than a lot of hip hop stuff. Um, but yeah, I just listened to it today, so I've only listened through it once, but it is really great. I think this is definitely a top hip hop album of the year, probably in the top 3 or 4 for me. With more listens, that'll probably grow because this is one of these where it's like just kind of effortlessly good. I think they both do their thing incredibly well. I think in terms of standouts, there was one song. What is it? Um, Big Picture. He takes a camera metaphor and stretches it across the whole song without it like falling flat at all, which is really great. Um, that one was really really nice. How to Impress God near the end is also very 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 good. Um, and then the outro with Smino is very good too.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, the beats are fantastic. It's a very easy listening record. Um, one that I feel like is very accessible to get into as well. It was a very kind of chill and relaxing listen, and then you get a couple of kind of heavy hitting boom bap tracks in here, and it goes over really well. So um, very very good. I've heard everything I've heard from Sabo so far has been pretty good. Still haven't touched his quote unquote best album yet, so
Hmm.
that might come up eventually. But I'm feeling pretty good about this thing. I think it's a really nice collection. It's almost mixtapey, but not quite. I think it's really just like two artists kind of coming together and making a bunch of tracks. So, but it flows really well still. So, check it out. It's pretty sick. Um,
Nice.
let's talk music.
That's very clever.
It is very clever. Playboy Carti dropped music, and that music is called music. And there's 30 of these musics.
That's too many musics.
Actually, I think there's 34 of these musics now after all of the like digital online purchase versions of music.
Hmm.
It's a lot of musics,
That's
which is
awesome.
confusing because the album cover says I am music, but the
Yeah.
album title is called music.
Hmm.
So I'm a little confused.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Good thing that's the only confusing part about this album, and there's nothing else confusing because it's very straightforward. Um,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So it's 30 songs. It's an hour and 15 minutes, which his records are usually pretty long,
Hmm.
but I think this is his longest. I think Whole Lotta Red is like 50 minutes, and Dial-It is like somewhere around there as well. Um, where do I start with this? The first track just like blows your eardrums out right away. Like he wastes no time just getting in there, um, and it's okay. He's got this kind of demon voice going. Um, sounds like he's just like really straining his voice, which probably isn't healthy, but I mean it goes kind of hard, I guess. Um, Crush is track two. It's okay. Um, I think Travis Scott says straight up, but then doesn't have a verse whatsoever, but he's still listed as a feature. So the beat's pretty good. I think one thing to note about this record is that the beats are pretty decent, decent to good most of the time. There's a couple exceptions to that where I'm like, "What are you doing?" But we'll get to that. Um, the record kind of, I don't know, Pop Out is very aggressive and definitely gets your attention, but then things kind of like not mellow out, but it just kind of get like thrown to the back for a couple of tracks. Um, Crush does have like like choir backing vocals for some reason that are kind of cool. Um, that kind of starts the issue where it's like every single featured artist besides Travis Scott has like infinitely more energy than the man that's supposed to like be making these insane rage tracks.
Oh.
So that's interesting. Um, but it's okay. Um, it's a catchy hook. I like the freaking choir vocals of "Shouty Gonna Let Me Crush" over and over again. I think it's pretty sick. K-pop, I don't remember the sound of. Wasn't there another song called K-pop on a different record?
K-pop.
Was that a Utopia?
I don't know. I've not listened to Utopia.
Um, yeah, K-pop is on Utopia, and it has Bad Bunny and The Weeknd on it.
Oh.
This is a different K-pop, so I don't remember what the song sounds like at all. Um,
Oh. That's a weird
Evil,
combination of people.
it it is. The song's not that great. I
Okay.
thought it was. Eh. Evil Jordan is next. It's spooky.
That's very
It
spooky.
has this really, really weird intro that sounds like someone that like used to make like Call of Duty montages in 2012, where like you make everything super cinematic for no reason. Like the intro sounds like that. Like we're building up to something just like insane, and cinematic and over the top. And then it just like breaks down crazy with gunshots and a whole bunch of stuff. It's kind of cool. I like it. It's funny in a like kind of enjoyable way, I guess. I can't take any of this seriously, but it's like, it's fine. Um he's alternating between like his baby voice, his like scary voice, and this weird low voice that he kind of used a little bit on Timeless, but not really. He sounds like
Hmm.
a weird uncle when he does this low voice. And I can't get it out of my head. I think Radar is when Metro gets his first production on this album. And there's the normal Metro tag that you usually hear, but then Cardi decides to add a second Metro tag, and he
Oh.
just goes Metro in like this really weird low voice. It just sounds so weird. Um,
That's probably better than
I
Future doing that.
Yeah, honestly, like it's stuck in my head, and I can't replicate it because his voice is just so strange when he says it. But uh, it gave an audible laugh from me, so I enjoyed that. Um, Mojo Jojo, fire name for a song. Um, this is a song where Kendrick Lamar is on it.
He
Um,
is?
he does ad libs on this song.
Oh.
and he does his 21 can you do something for me, that kind of thing, which is kind of funny.
He
I
does?
don't know if it's like intentionally like a dick.
What, what does he
um
say? Like, Cardi, can you do something for me or something?
no, but he's like, I need that Cardi. He's being a funny guy. um
I don't like
it's weird.
that.
I Kendrick has more energy in ad libs on this song than Cardi does on the main choruses and vocals. Um, and it's weird, like, because Kendrick's a pretty good hype man. Like a lot of J Rock stuff and Baby Keem stuff. Like, he's a pretty funny and energetic hype man for ad libs, and I do enjoy when he does it. But it's really weird when like you're kind of like cheering on a corpse in this song because he's not really doing much. Um, it felt a little weird. Um, we have another Travis Scott feature on the next song, and I think Travis Scott needs to be locked like away from any artist for a little bit until we can figure out what's going on because his features lately have just been awful. They're
Okay.
so bad. Um, I don't know. He's just really boring. Like, he does the same thing over and over again. Um, and like the straight up like that doesn't hit anymore. Like, I don't care that Travis Scott is in on a song. Like, he didn't
Yeah.
do anything on the Weekend album. He's not doing anything here. Um, yeah, I don't know. Radar's kind of fun. I like the Metro beat. Rather Lie, we have the Weekend, which I think this was recorded way before. Hurry Up Tomorrow. So
Oh,
this might be the last thing we hear from the Weekend. Playboi
wow.
Carti album. Um, he carries this song. It's the only reason that the song is solid. I think he does a really, really, really good chorus, and I really enjoy it. Um, Cardi's parts are okay, but I think the Weekend kind of knocks it out of the park with this one. There's like controversy of like if Cardi used AI vocals on some of these songs. I honestly can't tell, and I don't care enough because I'm not listening to this thing again. Um, so I'm not sure if that's been confirmed or if it's just kind of a rumor mill right now. It wouldn't surprise me if he did. It wouldn't surprise me if he didn't. I don't really care. Um, Backdoor has Kendrick Lamar on it again
Really?
and Gene Aiko. Kendrick is doing vocals this time on the chorus.
Oh.
And this is over a Kanye beat.
Oh.
It's okay. I yeah. I think Kendrick does pretty good. Um, but there's nothing really exciting going on here. It's so weird because like this album's not horrible, but like there's certain parts where I'm like I'm having a lot of fun, and then I look at the track list and I see that I'm only like a quarter of the way through, and I'm like, oh, I still have a lot to go. And he's doing some new things and different things, and some of them work, some of them don't. It's still entertaining for the most part, and I still see the genuine like artistic ability he has coming out here, but it's not nearly as prominent as his other two records.
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of this is just bloat. Like a lot of it is bloat. Um, Toxic with Skepta is pretty good though. It's very. I haven't heard from Skepta in a long time. Um,
Since the
but
album.
yeah, I think the contrast between Cardi's voice and Skepta's voice is kind of funny. But um,
Oh, wait, I was
he's like,
thinking of Sampha.
British man. Sampha would be crazy.
That's what I thought. Like, oh, it's
Yeah,
been
that'd be
that
insane.
long. It was like a couple years
Um,
ago.
I don't know. I think the song's pretty good though. I think Playboi Carti's performance on this is pretty good. Um, I don't remember what Munyon sounds like. Okay, I just started the song and I remember I do not like this one. This
Okay.
beat is not fun. Um, Crank is okay. It's very repetitive,
It's like Crank That Soldier
which
Boy.
Crank That Soldier Boy not nearly as good.
Uh,
Um, Charge Them Hoes a Fee is a song that is so bad that it's kind of good, which which is a novelty that I enjoy.
okay.
um, this has Future and Travis Scott on it. I think Future carries the song completely.
Oh, of course.
I think it's like you hear Playboy Cardi for the song, and then Future steps up, and you're like, "This is why Future is so much better." His voice is just so much more like fulfilling to listen to, and he just has such a better grasp on like melody.
Yeah.
Um, he's just cool. He's got this cool demeanor to all of his vocals. It doesn't feel like he's trying hard. He's just kind of, going. Um, but Charge Them Hoes a Fee is said probably like 200 times. The song takes like forever to get started. Travis Scott does nothing to contribute anything. and it kind of just fizzles off, but it's kind of funny at the same time. So uh, it's almost to the point of like one of those songs off of the Uzi record Eternal Take Two, which I think was
Oh.
completely made on nitrous gas, where it was just like, did anybody put like any effort into this song? It feels like it's just kind of like, oh, well, we're gonna hit record and see what happens. Um, so I don't know. Good Credit is next with Kendrick Lamar again, third
Really?
time. This time he gets a verse. We were just kind of building up. He's getting more and more parts until we reach Good Credit. Um, I think I enjoy Good Credit. It has a really funny sample that kind of like brings in the song, which is great. The beat is kind of fun. Um, Cardi does decent. I think his part's a little like overdone. I don't know. He's saying the same thing like 20 million times, and you can tell that they just clearly cut the audio track and just put it over again, which is lazy. Because you can hear his chain like going back and forth in the vocal
Oh.
track, which is not new, but at the same time, like that fits whole lot of red. It doesn't fit this. Um, but Kendrick's verse is good. I think it's the most energetic thing on the album, which it shouldn't be a surprise. Um, but he does good. I think he fits well in the beat. I like hearing him on these different kind of weird production styles that he wouldn't do on his own records. Um, just kind of doing his thing. It's a good verse. Like not as incendiary as like that or anything, but I didn't really expect anything like that. But he's just having fun, and it's nice. Um, I See You Baby Boy is right after that. What a great song name. It's okay. And it has more of like a lighthearted beat, which is cool. Man, then we have a song with Travis Scott again. Then we have a song with Lil Uzi. Then we have another song with Future.
Oh.
Um, we need all the vibes with Young Thug and Ty Dolla Sign.
Oh.
I
That,
think whatever I said about Travis Scott applied to Ty Dolla Sign times 10. I feel like I'd be happy if I never hear another Ty Dolla Sign feature
wow.
in my life. He
That's
doesn't do anything.
I like that one feature on the Thundercat album. That's all I know Ty Dolla Sign from.
I like him on the Thundercat album and I liked him on Psycho, and that's it.
Oh.
He's
Yeah.
so one note, it hurts me.
Yeah.
But Young Thug, I haven't heard from Young Thug in a while for obvious reasons, but he's sounding good.
Why? What's going on with him?
Nothing really.
Nothing really. Okay.
Nothing. I think he was just on vacation for a while or something. I don't remember.
Oh, that's cool.
Um, yeah, but he sounds good on here. He sounds energetic. So Olympian is next. Olympian's pretty sick. I really enjoy that song. I think it's a just nice, well-rounded solo Cardi track. I think the features kind of overflood things sometimes. Then we have Opium Baby.
Yeah, that might
You've
be
heard this song.
that's the worst song I've ever heard in
This
my
might be
whole
the
life.
worst song.
I cannot believe when you played
So
it.
bad that it's funny.
I cannot believe it. Because I had never, I mean, like, I think I didn't even know that this album came out. And then we got together
Uh-huh.
with Bab Jab to record Shore. And this was what we used to get the listening party already. And I could not believe what was going through my speakers. I'm like, this is the
Yeah.
worst. It's so
I don't
blown
know
out.
what happened here. Um, the 808s are competing with each other. And okay, I should mention that Swamp Izzo was all over this record, which I don't have a problem with. I like having the kind of old school hip hop, like uh, guy who shouts his name really loud over and over on random parts of the album. I
Yeah.
don't mind that stuff. I like DJ Drama and Call Me If You Get Lost. I like all that kind of stuff. I like when West Side Gun does that.
Yeah.
Swamp Izzo does pretty good on this record in terms of like, I think he fits the vibe of this record with just how messy and off the wall and crazy everything is. He carries the energy well. Um, that being said, the 808s just start going crazy, and then another drum pattern gets introduced, and then like a Call of Duty 4 Desert Eagle sound plays over and over and over again, like someone's like smashing it on a soundboard, and then Swamp Izzo gets like clipped over each other, so it's like swamp, 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 swamp. All of this is happening over top of each other. It's just,
I
it's one of the
don't,
craziest things I've ever heard.
I can't believe a song sounds like that and was
Yeah,
released.
it's it's great. I no, I hate it,
I
but
guess
it's really funny. It's
this isn't the way too sexy for you, is it?
no, way too sexy is still something where I'm like, I like it's ironic my love for it, but at the same time, it's like this is just really funny in a novelty kind of way.
Sure.
This doesn't have that because then like the song kind of mellows out, but then it's just Cardi going for like 2 minutes.
Oh,
So yeah,
yeah.
Twin Trim with Lil Uzi is pretty decent. That's the best Lil Uzi has sounded in a while. Ever since I listened to some of those Eternal Take Two songs, I'm like that stuff is horrible. This album is so much better than that album. Yeah. After that, it got really boring. I don't remember like most of the last ones. Um, the album goes on for way too long. Like, cut it down to 20 tracks, not 30. You don't need 30 songs. Cut
No.
all the Travis Scott songs except for we charged them hoes a fee because it's funny. Um, yeah, it's okay. Like, I'm very middle of the road on it. Where like there is some novelty and fun to some of this, and I think there is some there's some thought put into some of these tracks, but a lot of these, there's a lot of them that kind of feel like filler and kind of throwaway, which is different because like I think Whole Lotta Red and Dial-It are pretty good albums. Despite me like not really liking Playboi Carti as a person or like musically, those are still fun albums. It's a weird dichotomy there where I'm kind of like, this is really fun to listen to, but like I can't stand this band at the same time. You're like you're 30 years old making this album. Um,
Yeah.
but I think both of those albums are pretty good. This one, I don't know. It feels bloated. It doesn't feel like there was a real concept. I think just the whole like music, I am music thingy, and there's no concept to it at all. It's just kind of like that's what it's called. And here's like a batch of 30 songs. Do whatever you want with those. There will be like five that blow up big, and the rest will kind of fall into obscurity, which is kind of the trend for things. But um, I don't know. Having Kendrick on it 3 times was like definitely interesting. I don't know if I have thoughts on it or anything. Um, I think two of the songs I didn't really like, so I'll just take good credit and run with that one, I guess.
There you go.
Um, but yeah, it's okay. I know the internet likes to be like, oh, this Cardi album is the worst thing ever made or the best thing ever made. I mean, it's just okay. I'm in
Okay.
the middle.
Well, I think a whole lot of red, like when it first came out, it was like panned by everybody.
Oh
And it
yeah,
like took a
very
long
very
time.
divisive. Hmm.
Now it's like an instant classic. Everyone has that poster on the wall.
Yeah, I don't think that'll happen with this one.
No?
Um, no, because a whole lot of Red at least had like it is really fun, um, but it did have like some more bold production styles and choices that like a lot of artists haven't really explored yet, especially like as in trap and rage is like a newer genre. Um, but this one is kind of there's nothing new happening here
Yeah.
besides gunshot sounds being overlaced in the most random moments,
And I do like
which
that.
it's always welcome. Um, but yeah, that's music.
Okay.
Um, the album. I'm not done.
Oh,
Uh, we have one more album. Let's talk about clipping.
I love
Dead Channel
clippings.
Sky. Me too. Yeah, we've done one album on the channel. I don't remember
It
which one
was,
it was. I think it was There and Existed an Addiction to Blood.
it's one of them. It
That
was
was
our
the
Halloween
2019 one.
special.
I think it was that one. I don't think yeah. Visions of Bodies Being Burned is a little bit more avant-garde.
Yeah, I
So I
think it
don't think
was
we
the
would have done that
addiction
one.
to blood.
Yeah, I think both those albums are very good. Um,
Yeah.
I enjoy both of them quite a bit. So I was already kind of a fan of clipping going into this. Um, there were a couple singles for this. I listened to one of them, I think, last year, and that was Run It. I think that was the first one from this. And that was their kind of left turn into this kind of techno industrial hip hop blend with a lot of kind of acid and house influences. That was really cool, and I loved it. Um, which when you drop a single like that, you can pretty clearly tell where they're going. So this is a cyberpunk album, pretty much,
Oh,
um, in terms of everything. It's a very different album from what they've done because the concepts on the last two records have been very kind of tight knit and intricate and kind of overlaced in the whole record, so everything kind of fits as one gigantic piece. This is different in a lot of different ways, and I think all in good ways. Um, I really, 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 really enjoyed this thing. It's got so many different layers that I'm really enjoying, and I still feel like I haven't really dug as far as I can into it, which is great, despite listening it to like 5 or 6 times at this point. Um, it definitely feels different and plays different than a clipping record. So I think some people might be a little turned off by that or a little bit um, like confused. I will say Fantano will give this a 6, and I think he's completely wrong.
Oh,
And I think he completely misunderstood everything about this record. But I'll wait for the Redux review in 4 years, and you know you can correct yourself then, I guess. But this one kind of functions more of a not quite a mixtape, but kind of in that realm. It flows more of in a more classic hip hop record kind of way instead of the more cinematic um, pacing that the last two records have, which is something I really enjoy. I think, especially with this kind of style of cyberpunk, acid glitch house techno blend of hip hop, which goes over really well in most places. The intro is him rapping it, like maybe too fast over a dial-up beat, and that's it. It's great as a kind of lead into the record. Um, it kind of lays out the themes of the record. It's hard to like kind of talk about what the theme is because it's kind of an interspersing of future, past, new hip hop, old hip hop. We kind of have a concept here, but some of it is based off of like real world contextual things and super niche cyberpunk culture things, but also like very techy and nerdy acronyms and words that we are using to make double entendres in the normal clipping way. It's very over the top, um, which I think is a benefit to this record. It's their most accessible in a way too, which they're not the easiest thing to get into. David is a very quick and fast rapper, so it
yes.
takes a little bit to kind of digest what he's doing here. But he is phenomenal all over this thing. Dominator is the first real song after the dial up. It's great. It's fantastic. The beat is so fun. It's such a fun record to listen to, despite parts of it being kind of crushing. You have these really nice kind of like dancey bass hits going. Works really well. All of these songs kind of have like their own little storylines in them. It's not really an overall narrative at all. It's more of like little chunks and pieces, and we zoom in on little sections of stories, and a lot of them are like we play into cyberpunk themes, obviously the cyberpunk genre, um, but it's a lot of it is like these are things that could happen, which I guess is what cyberpunk does. I think it gets it wrong a lot of the time and kind of just falls into like the uh, weird Asian fetishism and the other stuff like that.
Yeah.
This doesn't do any of that. I think this gets to the core of what cyberpunk is was supposed to be, in terms of like what that genre did. Um, and it works really well. I think it blends the present, future, and past brilliantly across the whole record, which is weird because like with this kind of techno blend of sound, you think it would sound super futuristic, but it almost sounds like underground New York hip hop in the 2000s and 90s. Like he's taking inspiration from old hip hop and putting them in this like new experimental hip hop area, and blending it really well. I think one of the songs that might be Dodger. I don't know for sure, but it sounds like he's interpolating "Bombs Over Baghdad" in the beginning of the song with the way the drums are going and his like flow, because it
Oh.
sounds very much like Andre on that song. And I thought that was very cool because like "Bombs Over Baghdad" subject matter wise is very like in tune to that moment, um, and this is kind of looking forward into the present and future. So uh, there's a lot of smart things going that aren't like necessarily brought to you right away in the music. I think there's a lot of like contextual world building that they're doing, um, just by taking inspiration from certain things that you wouldn't really expect them to. Um, Change the Channel is also fantastic. I think this was the second single. Breakneck pace, fantastic. I think it's hard to do break beats in hip hop like this because you have to be pretty quick and light on your feet. But David is just like weaving in and out of these things brilliantly. Um, I can't believe this man did Hamilton. Like, what a waste of your talents, young man. um, he's just like incredible at these flows and like the storytelling, and all of it is so potent, even though he's kind of going at a million miles an hour here. Um, his choruses on a lot of the record are very good too. I think he's definitely improved on that front. Um, and then Run It is after that, which was the first single. Still love it. Feels better within the context of the album. The flow is really great as well because it gives you a little bit of time to breathe, but you're kind of hit over the head with like a different kind of like breakbeat techno sound every single album song you get to. There is a lot of interludes and like small snippet songs in here, which usually is not like something great, but I really enjoyed in this album. I think it breaks it up a lot because with clipping, I think on the last two albums especially, there is a lot of ambience that you can kind of get sucked into with, especially with the more horrorcore elements where they're very like, we're going to show you like this kind of John Carpenter-esque scary kind of soundscape as we build our tracks, and they're a bit longer. The breathing room isn't really here on this album, so it's nice to get little interlude tracks where they're playing with like um, really kind of high pitched distortion and all of the like crazy techie things that you'd kind of expect them to. Dabbles in a lot of like 90s sci-fi like Matrix and Blade Runner type sounds too,
Mm.
which I think work really well. The Simple Degradation series, there's two tracks on the record kind of play in those loops of like what sounds like broken technology and stuff, and just does a really good job at kind of like sucking you into the atmosphere. Um, then we have Code. Code is great. Um, it's gonna take a long time to like really dissect a lot of the like lyrical themes here. But Code is like a double entendre track of like code obviously being technology, but then also like code switching, digital code switching, all of these different themes kind of brought into one here, which is really great. It just like like digital identity. There's a lot of like hacking. The hacker is kind of a character throughout the album, but it's like a different hackers in different contexts as well. Um, so I don't know. It's a very cool spin on the cyberpunk genre because I feel like it does truly like take itself seriously and not in like a this looks cool or feels cool way. I think there's genuinely a lot of substance in everything they're doing here. So yeah, code goes over really well. The beat is nice and simple, so it gives him time to kind of like do these more storytelling elements. Um, Dodger is fantastic. It is one of my favorites. Another hacker led song. I think this song is the what is this one? Yeah, like an analyst working at like a some gigantic company who like discovers a virus that
Oh,
results in like this entire company crashing and like things just spiraling out of control. um it's really interesting. um and the beats are like very cold and calculated with all these break beats and things going on, but then you have like certain songs have some really nice like sweeping orchestral melodic moments near the end that just like expand the soundscape like gigantic in like gigantic ways, and it's works so well. But yeah, the choruses and everything go over well, really well. I think they're doing a great job on this record as well. So um yeah, there's a lot here. It's a very dense record despite it being their most accessible. I think the next big one is Polaroids. This is another one where I'm like, I can't even begin to scratch the surface about all the things they're talking about in this song. But I think it's like about physical media in the past, and lost media as things get further digitized and the kind of disappearing of things like that. Um, and kind of relating that to like more broad concepts except just like media, movies, music, um but like whole like personalities of data of people getting erased and things like that. Very 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 heady, but I think they do a good job of like tempering emotion on this record, so you just still kind of have a connection point to a lot of it. um it all feels so like with cyberpunk, it's like how do you nail this feeling like something that can happen realistically but it'll still show like the advancement of technology and the degradation of of a society at the same time. I think it's difficult to do. I think Blade Runner 2049 does it really well. Um, but how do you do that in music form? I think they're doing it really good here. Uh, some might say like the beats are a little bit more like derivative of like a cyberpunk because it's what you kind of expect it to sound like. But I think that's where they're blending these 90s and like underground 2000s like records, something from like Def Jux or something that kind of grounds you and makes it feel like it is something familiar while still being advanced, which is like a masterful way to do that. That's such a cool way to kind of bring that back so it doesn't feel like a gimmick. It feels real and connected to the culture you're drawing from, and like just a continuation of hip hop. Because like that kind of scene in the early 2000s, like the LP and stuff, LP is very dystopian in all of his records. So this fits right in with that kind of camp. And ASAP Rock, which we will
mm.
get to very soon.
Oh,
Um, Mirror Shades Part 2, I definitely got to talk about. This song is so fun. This is a straight up like techno disco song about like the the mirror shades that you see in all of these cyberpunk ones, like the glasses in the Matrix and everything,
Mm.
and that kind of style. It's really fun. I think the feature artists on this as well do fantastic. Who's on this one? I need to check. Why don't you show me Spotify? Cartel Madras. There's always like an unknown female like rapper on every single clipping album, and they're always like incredible, and I never hear anything else from them. So I don't know where they keep finding these people, but they're fantastic. Um, but yeah, this like underground like club disco rave setting, it's so fun. Um, yeah. Then we have Welcome Home Warrior nearing the end here with ASAP Rock. The song is fantastic. I was very interested to hear what this would sound like because this whole album is like right up ASAP Rock's alley to the point where like this song could probably be on like his last record or two and it would fit right in. Um, David is kind of doing like an ASAP Rock flow on this track too, which is interesting because they kind of blend together a little bit, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. But this song is about like escapism through like digital worlds, whether that be like video games and that kind of thing, to like kind of escape the horrors of real life and make you feel like you have some sort of significance if you're like uh, creating an avatar and going into these like high fantasy games where you're always the hero and going into all these different things, which I think is a cool topic to really dig into. Um, which feels kind of cliche until you get into it, and the lyrics are like taking a very different kind of slant than you would expect because David is very like visceral in the language and imagery he uses, which makes those last two albums that are horrorcore so good and chilling. But he does it just as well with these ones here. And ASAP Rock does fantastic. I think he fits into the song perfectly. Adds a really nice contrast to the track. But yeah, that one's a lot of fun. Um, that's where the fun stops. We have one last song. Uh, Ask What Happened.
What
This is the
happened?
best song I've heard all year. I'll tell you.
Okay.
I wow. It's been a long time since I've listened to an album where like you kind of hear the last song and then the album ends and you kind of just have to sit there for a little bit and just like be like, "Oh, like that." The last movie I saw that did that was like everything everywhere all at once.
Mm.
That movie ends and you're kind of just like, "Now what?"
All right.
There's a silence in the mind and everything. That's what this song does, and it's one of the best things I've ever heard. I think it's the best clipping song I've ever heard. Um, yeah, so we've had this cyberpunk aesthetic throughout the entire album. There's a lot of like connections that I've been talking about, like where experimental hip hop is going, where it has been, and where it is now, blending all those things together. So you have this kind of grounded experience while it's still being a cyberpunk experience. They kind of strip all that away from the song, and David is like at his most blunt. Um, it just talks about like we zoom into like today, modern day, of techno fascism rising, of like we are already kind of addicted to technology and it's already kind of rising to this point where like you can't live without a smartphone anymore. Like it is required. Try applying for a job without a LinkedIn account. All these kind of different things where it's already kind of connecting. He talks about like um, the CIA and revolutions. He talks about the 1% kind of owning the future and the past. Um, it's harrowing, like the atmosphere of it too. There's these like very watery background keys and things, and this like orchestral moment that kind of breaks out near the end with this break beat. It is like chilling. It was like one of the most harrowing things. Like they have two horror records, and none of them hit me like this. Where I'm like, wow, um, it is just the most cold blooded thing I've ever heard. It's insane. It's a perfect wrap up of the record because like the whole record, you're kind of thinking like, okay, this is kind of a cool like future world that's not really like too far away from where we are, but like you can't really picture that. And then you get to the last track, and it kind of zooms into that exact point where we're at right now, where we are leading towards that. Um, where everything in power right now is like they're basically trying to just like defund as much as they can, rob the state for however much they can, and try to institute all these different things.
Yeah.
I mean, we have someone like Elon Musk going into a lot of these things. Like all these people are like insane tech people, and there's this new kind of tech religionism coming out of Silicon Valley that is really kind of inserting itself in this administration, and it's like coming quicker than I think people expect. It's not going to be like you wake up one day and everything is kind of this cyberpunky dystopia. Like it builds slow, and it's already pretty much happening. Um, but I think just like mixing that with like the bombing of countries and the inward kind of turn of a fascist state that's already been outwardly fascist, all these different things kind of blend together into the song, and it is just like absolutely chilling. Um, there's revolution talk, there's all these different kind of things. He uses like digital like MP3s and everything to like build into further concepts in this song. It is just it's chilling, it's incredible, it's absolutely phenomenal. And it just makes the album for me because like everything is pretty fun, but like a lot of these like stories and topics he goes into are not that distant, and especially with this song I feel like they're looking right into the camera at the end to like be like, here you go. um yeah, I could go on forever about it. I think I think when it comes to like experimental hip hop that explains the current moment, like the big three for this year, I think are or for this decade. We have till I get to by the time I get to Phoenix, Injury Reserve, which is kind of that COVID album that does speak to the insanity and like chaos because you can't really tell what anything is in that album, but you can feel it. I think Diabetic Test Strips speaks to the current moment extremely well. The way that that album is laid out, there's still a lot of melodic moments, but there is this kind of dystopian rising tech and fascist kind of undertone to that record that everything kind of already feels dingy. And then you have this where it kind of looks forward a little bit, but still calls back to what's happening now. Um, and it's a perfect kind of triad from those. So it kind of enters that for me. But yeah, it's incredible. It's my favorite album of theirs. I think the quality is pretty much the same between all three that I've heard, but I think this grips me the most, mostly because like you can re-listen to it very easily. Those other two are they're not like novelty albums, but like I'm not gonna turn on those albums every other day. Um, they're very dark and moody. But this one is very replayable. I think it's fantastic. Um, so yeah, I think this is my top album of the year so far. I think it's it dethrones balloonerism barely, but I think it's the top of the top. Um, so yeah, it's phenomenal. Check it out. Uh, I think this is their first in like 5 years. So good job. That's what you do with a 5 year wait. Playboi Carti got him.
Owned.
Owned. That's it. That's all I have.
That's all you have. Gonna end on a real bombshell.
Yes, sir.
You're telling me you didn't like the new Playboi Carti album?
No. Well, I mean, I gave it like it's above 50%.
Oh,
So
that's good.
I guess there's some enjoyment.
What did you rate it?
Like 60.
That's fair, I think. From everything you told me, that seems fair.
Yeah,
I will never listen to that album, I think.
that's okay. I think you would rate it like a 2. So
Yeah, okay. Well, I know it won't be the worst album I'll ever hear. I'll tell you
that
that
is true.
much.
Hmm.
I don't know if I've listened to anything new. I've been listening to Shore.
Me too.
So,
You'll hear our thoughts on that.
yeah,
It might
soon.
be out already, but
TM.
soon.
Yeah. Either it'll be out soon or it came out 3 days ago. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I mean, this podcast is going to be coming out in April.
Hmm.
That's
So it'll definitely be out.
yeah, it'll
Then,
be
if
out by
that's
then.
the case. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So you have that to look forward to. But yeah, no, I don't think I've listened to anything. I think I listened to like half of Sound and Color by the Alabama Shakes because they're
Hmm.
back together.
Oh,
Isn't that fun and exciting? And they're going to be here at some point. I don't remember when. July 18th. And so I'm like, yeah, that could be fun to go see the Alabama Shakes. I don't know. It's pretty good. I get it. Like I get why people really like it. I just don't know if it's like 100% for me.
hmm.
But it's pretty good. I like the sound. I like the song "Sound and Color." That's a great song.
Oh yeah.
I don't know anything else. But I would be down to do it on the show. If
It's the only
you
song I know from them, so
you don't know, don't want to fight no more.
I probably do. But
That one,
Sound and Color is just like, you know that one.
well, yeah, you know that one. Don't want to fight was on the Jimmy John's radio when I worked at the Jimmy John.
Perfect.
So I've heard that song a lot, and it's pretty good. So shout out Alabama, shout out the Shakes, shout out Brittany Howard. Is that right?
Sounds right.
Okay, shout out Brittany Howard. It's pretty rare. She's a female frontwoman who's also the lead guitarist. That's kind of cool.
Snail mail.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Just listening to what I have been listening to. Salt, Shore, music,
Not the Playboi Carti album.
not the Playboi Carti album. I did go back to Fleet Foxes because I was a little curious. Like, do I still like this as much as I did? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
Very good album.
Timeless.
Yes. And I listened to, I think it was before we recorded Shore, but I listened to Helplessness Blues on Very Lonely Solstice version. And it's very nice.
Okay.
It's very nice. I won't listen to it now that you offered it as a proposition to our fans. The boy time heads, if you will.
Boy heads.
Boy heads, time freaks.
I like that one.
I know there's some people are more times than boys, so
It's true.
all of the non-binary people would identify more with the time part of our show, which is very,
something we all can relate to.
which we're very similar to Interstellar in that way.
Yes.
Have a lot
Time
to do with
affects us.
time. Yes. But that's it.
One boy time video on Earth is like 40 minutes, but one boy time video on freaking Water Planet is like 2 minutes.
That's true. Time is relative.
Just watch our video at like 5 times speed.
Sometimes we post our videos at 5 times speed.
You wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
That's because we record it really
We
slow.
record it
And
real-
speed it up in post.
Sometimes we're traveling the speed of light, so we're actually frozen. So we have to like turn it up a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why the cameras freeze sometimes in the videos.
Sometimes. Well, it's not perfect. We haven't quite figured out light speed travel, but we're working on it.
Yeah.
And we like testing it while we're recording videos.
It's fun.
I think so.
Keeps you on your toes.
Yeah. So, shout out Einstein. If it weren't for you, BB, this would not be possible. This show that we do online. So thank you, Einstein, and thank you for being an Oppenheimer, the great film I've ever seen.
Thank you for coming back to life for that.
Thank you for coming back to life to play
Shame
Einstein.
that you died afterwards again, but
Well, I mean, them's the rules. Every dead person can come back to life to play one role.
Yep.
I can't wait for Christopher Lee.
Sick idea for a movie.
I think
Someone should
so.
make that.
Yeah, that would kind of be like Birdman too. Because like the whole thing with that movie is that it's like an actor living in the shadow of his past of being like this superhero from the 80s. But then the sequel would be he dies, but then the studio brings him back to life to keep playing Birdman. And it would be like an allegory for using AI to resurrect dead actors to play their former characters. Like Harold Ramis in Ghostbusters, or Mark Hamill is Luke Skywalker, but young Luke Skywalker in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. That's gonna be really good.
I'd greenlight that.
I would too. I'll write up a short little treatment for it, and I'll send it off to Neon. See if they'll
Mr.
produce it.
Disney.
I'll send it to Disney. Yeah, a movie that has a satirical edge toward Disney, we're gonna send to
Hmm.
Disney. See if they
Bold.
bite for it. It is bold in a way. I don't think they would buy it. I don't know if any studio would buy it if we were like poking fun at big IP.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Maybe we'll reach out to Severin. They make the Birdemic movies,
Yeah, there you go.
so they like making movies with a message, which is what I think of when I think of Birdemic.
It's true.
Very, very deep message to those films that the environment is in trouble. It's really deep. Very deep, actually.
Profound.
It's actually the environment is in trouble, and Alfred Hitchcock is the best director ever.
Mm.
Those are the two themes of Birdemic.
Hmm.
And both of those are true. The environment is in trouble, and Alfred Hitchcock is the best director, which is why I gave his movie that I just watched 3 stars. So
Pretty good.
it's pretty good. Hey, it's as good as No Country for Old Men. So
Yeah, I suppose it is.
yeah, give you that. But that's all I have. Bye.